Nice.
Hooday! Whoever wants to drink this Disorderly podcast, brought to you by my ever-burning desire to stop being on this fucking planet, where all of you assholes have yet to figure out that a yield sign is not a stop sign. Jesus Christ, you can go if no one is there. I just want you all to know that it is not that difficult. Make your right turn. Fucking easy. Slow down a little bit. Make sure that no one's coming.
I'm already offended by this language. I just want to tell you that right
now. Jesus Christ. You got to start with the rant.
Oh, man. Dude, I've had a good day today except for my drive home. I swear to Christ, if I have to deal with one more fucking idiot that doesn't understand roundabouts, yield signs, or that the speed limit on the interstate is 65 for a fucking reason.
Fucking four-way stops. Four-way stops are not rocket science. If you motherfuckers can't handle a four-way stop, get off the goddamn road.
Okay, that's MotherJacobers.
MotherJacobers. Mother Trumpers.
That is the title of the podcast tonight.
Is
Fuck
it?
you up, MotherJacobers.
Nice. I love that. I think that is.
I'm just happy to finally have a guest on that shares my, like, 'cause Dan would never be like this. Dan's too nice of a guy. But that someone that shares my disdain for everything about Hornberger.
I hate authority, and I was flying back from Louisville last night from Dallas. I connected Dallas-Fort Worth. I was making some notes on the plane. I was like, the thing Hornberger and Justin Amash have in common is they're both lawyers. And I just wrote that, you know, I'm okay with the rule of law. I'm not okay with the rule of lawyers. Not okay with that. Yeah.
Oh, Justin's here. Welcome back, Justin. We haven't seen you in like weeks.
Hey, Justin.
Oh, boy.
And I bet Carl's here. Is Carl here?
Probably. We're filling up pretty quick again. So we are here real quick before we dive in. Remember, give us a follow on Twitch so that we can get that really important affiliate thing that doesn't cost you anything but can make us a ton of money. Please.
What is Twitch? Is that the Twitch? Is that the platform a lot of gamers are on? Twitch?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, my kid does that.
Yeah, and you know, look, our Twitch platform is going to be home to our online Cards Against Humanity games, to our online Dungeons and Dragons tournaments, and to our Magic the Gathering games also. So absolutely, we need your support on Twitch so that we can bring you some great gaming experiences.
And I have some people that I'm going to be aligning with to bring you some content. Let's just say that my one of my best friends, my half Asian friend, Chris, is going to be owning a game store. So we're going to do some really cool shit out of his store. Oh. Uh-oh. We lost your camera, bud. Are you still there?
Hang on. Let's see.
Oh, no.
Maybe he pushed a button that he shouldn't.
Yeah, let me text him.
All right. Hey, Justin, when we play
for another $3,000, Canon will sell me a camera. It doesn't turn itself off every 30 minutes. Here we go.
But yeah, Justin, when we go to play Magic, you'll be the first person.
Absolutely, Chrissy. So yeah, look, tonight our guest tonight is Mark Whitney, our guest co-host. Some of you love him, some of you hate him. But tonight,
I do not understand why there is any controversy around me whatsoever. I'm having a great time running for president. My family's having a great time.
I don't get it.
I don't understand why there's any controversy. I am stunned at all the authoritarian systems of control that are in place within the party to control candidates and try to get them to act like potted plants instead of just being who they are on stage. Of all the places, I thought you'd just be able to run for office as president in the Libertarian Party, be who you are on stage, and everyone would be happy about that. Instead, it's zero tolerance.
Well, and let's talk about one of the things that, like, I hear the most complaints about is the hashtag, right? Keep banging. So many people have issue with it. And number one, look, if y'all are watching the show,
they're purient, they have filthy minds, and they ought to be disgusted with themselves. Just for even thinking.
Look, the people watching our show,
me of all people, that there would be some sort of obscene innuendo buried in a hashtag.
Right.
I'm so offended.
I mean, if it was me, it would be an obscene innuendo. So, Mark, what's the story behind the hashtag?
I think
the story behind the hashtag is that my first job out of high school was selling vacuum cleaners door to door. And I had one of the best sales managers in the country with Electrolux that I worked for. And I was very fortunate. And so I'd knock on the door and I wouldn't get in the house, and knock on the door, I wouldn't get in the house. And I'd look at him furtively and say, you know, what the hell? And he said, keep banging, keep banging. And so we keep banging. And then I would get, so, you know, it's a funny thing. Here's a funny thing I learned selling vacuum cleaners. You cannot sell a new vacuum cleaner in a dirty house because they don't care about dirt. The cleaner the house is, the more likely it is that you're going to sell that new Electrolux vacuum cleaner. And if they already have an Electrolux in that clean house, the double the more likely it is, because they like to buy what you're selling. And all you have to do is help them rationalize doing a stupid thing again.
O'Donnell says, this is a boring story. Tell the one with nudity and Ben and Jerry's.
Oh, do I have a naked Ben and Jerry's story? Yeah,
I don't know if he's naked in it, guys.
I'm gonna disappoint your audience. I'll tell you a funny Ben and Jerry story, right? So I had 7 walk-in freezers full of Ben and Jerry in all my stores. And then when I got in trouble with the government for giving them a bank a couple tax returns, I had to go off to federal prison for a while. I'm not making this up. I got to the prison, and the highlight of the week, what everybody talked about all week, was Friday at noontime when they would serve ice cream. And I just wish they'd give me the death penalty, you know? It was that was the highlight of the week, was ice cream. And here it was. I lost 2 homes, 60 acres of land, everything I had, lost my personal freedom, all because it was too easy to borrow money to build Ben and Jerry's stores. You know, that was 30 years ago. And what I did in 1988 by giving these tax returns to the bank, that became the national economic model in 2008. You know, no income check, no verification, no documentation. Get all the money you want. It crashed. Everyone's 401k became a 201k.
Well, and let's talk about that, because we hear about this bank fraud all the time. So what happened, and you tell me if I'm wrong, was you went to apply for a loan. The bank said, we need to see 2 years tax returns.
Correct.
So you went home and filed complete and accurate tax returns, filled in the paperwork. You just didn't file those returns. So you took those returns to the bank.
I actually gave the tax forms I gave the bank actually reflected accurately my income. I just hadn't filed them with the IRS.
And the bank was willing to accept those. So this was a consensual agreement between you and a lender. And it wasn't until later when the feds got involved in an audit that they found it and then prosecuted you, correct?
Correct. The bank got in trouble with the feds for making illegal loans. And then they found out that they looked at this big loan I had with the bank. And there are actually 3 banks that I did business with. But the point was that when I went through what bank fraud is, it's similar to what Ed Snowden is charged with. Bank fraud is when you cause a document to be submitted into the files of the bank that isn't exactly what it appears to be. So that infects the files. So it infects the integrity of the audit when the FDIC people come. And, you know, this stuff's insured by the FDIC. So that's the crime. Nobody lost money in my case. I never missed a payment. Payments were current. It had nothing to do. It was just that there's a very technical crime. And the reason I got prosecuted for it was because in bankruptcy, we made monkeys out of these banks, because the bankruptcy judge said, you gave this moron all this money. He's never been in restaurant business. He got a high school education. And he never even if what he told you wasn't true, if it hadn't been true, he didn't show you any ability to repay these loans. So you guys deserve each other. And I got a complete discharge, right? Complete, 100%. And
did you have Judge Judy? Just kidding.
I had it was a great bankruptcy judge. He was a customer at my store. Yeah, he loved the Ben and Jerry's.
So, like, again, we're talking about one of these crimes where the only victim is the state. It shocks me that I hear libertarians going, oh, wait a minute, that was bank fraud. Who did he defraud?
Well, there was no, that bank fraud is what the statute is called. It's similar with Ed Snowden. So I wrote a play about Ed Snowden called The Education of Diane. And Ed in education is Ed Snowden, and Diane is Dianne Feinstein. So what's the story of Ed Snowden? Ed Snowden took some stuff from the NSA, and that is the crime. So they charge him with espionage. He can't turn to the jury and go, yes, but I took an oath to defend the Fourth Amendment. He's not allowed to do that. He's not allowed to put up a defense. So same with me. I couldn't turn to the jury and go, yeah, but the payments were current. We never missed a payment. The bank knew what they were doing. Can't do any of that stuff. But the real story of Edward Snowden, we all know what it is that he embarrassed the deep state because he walked out with all their shit. That's why Ed Snowden is hated by the government, because they are the National Security Administration, right? They are the intelligence community. You got this guy, Ed Snowden, with a high school education that walked away with all their stuff. So if they're not secure, how can they secure the country?
Right. That's the thing, is Snowden made them look like fools. And that's really what everybody was pissed off about.
And of course, not hard to do. Not hard to do.
No.
You know,
I mean, the Chinese are in our systems like at will whenever they want to. So,
right.
It's not like there was anything that came out of that leak or whatever that everyone didn't already have.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that the tech companies like Apple was surprised to hear that the government was mining all of our data, and Apple has been pretty good about trying to lock things down, or at least appearing to try to lock things down, and to put Apple's trying to put themselves in the position of being an exception from the third-party rules. So if they don't know the password to your files and stuff like that, if they just don't know that, they cannot comply with a government warrant to subpoena your stuff off Apple's cloud. And, you know, as president, I want to exempt the tech companies from the third-party doctrine, so that if the government subpoenas or issues a warrant to get your digital files from the cloud, you get notice just like you do if they're getting your hard copy files from your den. Well,
the problem is that...
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Justin, just look in the mirror, bud. You'll be fine.
Ooh, ouch. So the real problem, though, is I think that most Americans believe that the government must have a subpoena or a search warrant to enter your home, to collect evidence, and they don't. Under the RICO statutes, warrantless searches do exist, and they are legal. The government can kick in your door while you're at work. They can search through your stuff, gather enough evidence to charge and convict you with something, and you come home and think you've been robbed, you file a police report, the police act like it's a robbery. The whole time it was the feds. It's a legal thing.
That's disgusting.
So one of the experiences that I've had in performing, especially in my show Fool for a Client, especially when I perform in DC, is that, and where I have a lot of prosecutors and their spouses in the audience, or their partners or whatever, is that show reminds people of things they forgot they believe. It reminds them of principles they forgot they believe. So all the things we talk about as libertarians, my experience has been that if you can get people to take an hour on a Saturday night after a relaxing day, and you communicate at a high level, that you can tell a libertarian life story about how, you know, the government really took you down, about how it's overkill, and even the people that are participating in the system, you know, within an hour, they're going to be giving you a standing ovation. And it makes them stop and think about what they're doing with their lives and how they got to this point where that's actually how they make a living, you know?
So I want to jump in here, because to me, the most interesting part of everything that's going on with your campaign is Florida. Because, okay, so let's back up for a second.
What makes Florida interesting is that it should have never happened.
Right.
Right.
So I have to say, libertarians miss out badly on the censorship discussion, because they always want to make it just about government. And they don't want everyone to acknowledge how much control over censorship corporations have. And those corporations could not possibly have that control without government. There's like a lot of different...
Correct.
Right, like if you've never been...
It's not just the government. It's all the things that satellite around government that are really censoring us right now.
Ask any libertarian media outlet, anyone, how many times they've been shadow banned, right?
Correct.
That is censorship. The
Correct.
other thing with Florida that got me was this whole private property argument. Was normally I would be right there with you, but political parties are the gatekeepers to the ballot, to the fucking ballot. This is different.
Here's my question. Here's my question. Who wrote those private property opinions people are relying on? Republican and Democratic judges. Libertarian judges would have a little different take on a political forum where the speakers are all running for president. They're going to resolve that conflict in favor of the end users of the debate, which is the people. That's what a libertarian judge is going to do. We don't have any libertarian judges. We don't have any concept of what life would be with 830 libertarian judges. We only have authoritarian judges.
I mean, we've got a couple. Judge Jim Gray comes to mind, but not enough.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can name one, right?
Right. One, maybe two. Yeah, not enough.
The federal system has 830 federal judges. They're all Democrats and Republicans. You know, they all went to Ivy League schools where you learn where you learn all about institutional authority and you learn nothing about individual autonomy. And it's just a mindset, right? It's just a mindset.
Look, the same ballot access hoops that we jump through, that we bitch about when the old parties partake in their hazing, and that's what it is, right? To keep us off the ballot and to keep our candidates out of the debates. When we turn around as libertarians and engage in those same activities, man, I call bullshit. I'm sorry, and I love the people in Florida. Some
Absolutely.
of my favorite fucking people are in Florida.
It's all about what lives in your heart, right? So before the First Amendment was put on paper, the spirit behind the First Amendment had to live in the hearts of the people that wrote it. So if we as libertarians don't if we don't live these principles, if we just chant principles and we don't live them, then you're just chanting.
And sure, Chase, yeah, Facebook and YouTube, they can absolutely freely associate. That doesn't mean that what they're doing isn't censorship. It is.
So actually, I want to push back on this because I always have to do this. Yep. Facebook and YouTube get government benefits, and until they stop taking government benefits, they can fuck themselves. They are part of the system that is imposing this rule on me. So fuck you. Play by the same goddamn rules.
Fucking A, baby. Fucking A. There. Are we better? So listen, you're right. So here's one of the benefits that tech companies get. Section 230. Section 230 of the Communications Act says that they cannot be sued for any of the information that appears on their platforms because they're not responsible for it. It exempts them from being sued. That's number one. Number two, what happens when especially we as libertarians, live in a world where the terms of service of these agreements we sign conflict with the terms of citizenship? The terms of service that we sign with Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Google say that they can remove us for any reason or no reason at all. If we don't like it, we have to participate in private sector binding arbitration where there's no public accountability. And the Supreme Court just ruled last year that if you sign an arbitration agreement, you can't join a class action suit. So here's my question, right? Here's my question. If these companies can censor the word libertarian or censor the phrase Alex Jones or censor the phrase Mark Whitney or anything, if they can do that, isn't it true that we're living in a world where the Libertarian Party has to take 8.5 by 11 flyers and put them on a three-dimensional community bulletin board in hard copy, and Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity, who express opinions that are acceptable to these tech companies, they get the benefit of the efficient distribution. That's the world we live in right now.
And Chase, I dig you, man, but a false equivalency is a false equivalency, and that's a false equivalency if I've ever fucking seen one.
I'm saying that if you are a company that takes federal money, you don't get to then turn around and violate the rights of others.
Well, they use their money to buy a special law that exempts them from responsibility for what's on the platform because the platform is meant to be neutral. Therefore, no censorship, especially of political speech, right? If you're Jack Dorsey at Twitter, you either carry all political speech or you don't carry any. You don't get to pick and choose.
So here's the deal. I get where everyone's argument is coming from. And my response is, as long as you are trying to play by 3 different rule books and we are not making them play by any rules, we are going to lose. This is why I don't give a fuck about your principles, and I don't give a fuck about playing by our rules. We play by their rules because those are the rules of the game.
We're the visiting team, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's their field.
So, so that was the reason I protested in Florida, because I believe next year we're going to get treated to a big show. And it's going to be a show put on by the Democrats and Republicans and the tech companies. And the show is going to be called "We're Breaking Up These Companies." That's going to be the show. And the lawyers for the tech companies, and mind, these companies have more money than most nation states. The lawyers are going to write the rules. They're going to write the legislation that convinces us that they've actually been broken up, when in fact they weren't. Yeah, there's just a bunch of little subsidiaries that are all owned by the same people. But then in some footnote on page 44,000 of the bill, they are going to define what a journalist is, and it's not going to be us.
So, like, it cracks me up that, like, when Big Pharma pulls this shit and wants to charge $9,000 for insulin because they've got the market cornered on it, and libertarians are saying, wait a minute, IP is bullshit. They shouldn't be able to do that. They shouldn't be able to hold a monopoly. They shouldn't get government protection. But then we talk about media, and libertarians jump to a totally different page. Oh, that's different. It's not.
I have a clip of Dianne Feinstein that I'm going to use someday in a video. And she's sitting there testifying before Congress saying that we need to get to a place where we only have journalists with bona fides. Right? We can't have these independent citizen journalists out there. We can't have people doing what you and I are doing right now. They want to license and regulate it the way they license attorneys. That's
well,
what
they want to license and regulate it because that's how they fund their big fucking trips.
It's because we're disrupting them. I did a show called Late Night last week for 4 years. It had millions and millions of listens. So every time someone listens to that show or they listen to this show, it's an hour they're not consuming the bullshit put out by Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity in the New York Times and CNN. So, you know, people learn from listening to these shows. They get different ideas. It causes them to read and think. That disrupts the Democrat and Republican parties, if you haven't noticed, they're destroyed. They're both destroyed. They exist in name only, you know?
So, Mark, we've got a comment.
If Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are both Democrats, what kind of party do you have?
So we've got a comment that says Section 203 is the most misquoted and misrepresented piece of legislation ever, and libertarians are the guiltiest party. Okay. What's your take on that?
So what's good about Section 230? So what is good about Section 230 is that it encourages entrepreneurism. It encouraged a company, you know, Napster years ago was a very famously litigated case. So it encourages people to create systems where all of us can participate in the efficient distribution that the internet offers. That's a great thing. But Facebook and Twitter and Google and YouTube, they regularly cite the First Amendment as a protection for them in litigation, that they also have the right to do whatever they want. Well, you know, this is the operating system that we use. It used to be, you know, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, the operating system was a piece of a cowhide and a fucking feather. That was the operating system. It was animal parts. Okay, now this is the operating system. And for some reason, it's become normalized to say that because our files are digital and because the government can surveil and because tech companies can censor people who aren't appropriate, that's just okay. But this is just a new operating system, and the rules of the old operating system should apply.
And Justin, no. So Justin says it's totally different. No one's stopping you from launching your own media company, but IP laws will literally put you in a cage for trying to make insulin. No, trying to make insulin, no problem. It's when you try to distribute it. And when you try to distribute media from an independent media company and you are censored and shadow banned, it is not any different. It's still a cage.
So there is something that's unique to what I'm talking about. I'm talking specifically about political speech, which is sacrosanct in our system. It's how we engage in self-government. It's the tool we use to hold government accountable, that have uncensored, unfettered political speech. Without it, imagine Florida. Imagine Florida if if I stood up and I wasn't an absolutist on the Second Amendment. If I stood up in Florida and I engaged in relativism on the Second Amendment, or I said, well, you know, maybe there's some situations where the Second Amendment shouldn't apply in the United States. Maybe there are some special things. They would say to me, they would throw me out of there. So what I was trying to communicate in Florida in my protest is that these principles need to be something that we practice, not just something that we say. That's why I take exception to MotherJacober. All he does is talk. All he does is talk. He never sued a president to stop a war. He's never been put in a cage. He read a book that Michelle Alexander wrote called The New Jim Crow. I lived the New Jim Crow. You know, this guy is all chatter. He's like, I'll tell you what freedom is. Listen to me, because freedom is exactly what I say it is. No, freedom is the most ambiguous term in the world. It's whatever you decide it is. It's not what MotherJacober tells you it is.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me in these comments. Here's the thing: when we talk about political speech, and anybody who's campaigned, should be able to tell you this. You know those signs that say "No soliciting"?
Yeah. They
do not apply to political canvassers because political speech is granted special protection.
Correct.
Special protection.
Absolutely.
So if it says no solicitation, you can still knock. Now, as a canvasser, I wouldn't, but you can.
Right. Political speech is the most protected. Commercial speech is much less protected. We have different kinds of speech. Political speech is the federal courts are hands off. So what are libertarians doing with their hands on? The Democrat and Republican judges have been great about keeping their grubby paws off political speech. But what are libertarians doing putting their paws on it?
Look, Dre, I mean,
hey, Chrissy,
I call them Bobs.
Look, Chrissy, I will tell you now. Look, Dre, it's $500 and you get an ink Bob print on canvas of Dre's Bobs. So if you really want to see them, all you have to do is go to our subscribe link, click donate, $500. Let us know whose boobs you want an ink print of. You'll get them in the mail.
Or just for you, because we are courting you right now, if you join the network, you get a Bob print from Dre.
Wow. Wow.
Look, we are all about bootstrapping it on this podcast. So whatever.
I'd be willing to put my dick in wet concrete.
That sounds unpleasant.
A Mark Whitney clone of Willie.
It would be a small imprint.
Oh my God!
It wouldn't take up a lot of room in the house, you know.
God!
Would it fit in really well with Trump's tiny handprints?
You could use it as a bud vase.
There's no problem, I assure you, no problem. It's a beautiful hand. Look, there's no problem. All right. Yeah. The guy in Kentucky told me my Trump impression was shitty, and I'm like, it always gets laughs, dude. So, you know,
I enjoy it. I enjoyed it in Iowa when I interviewed you, inebriated like 4 times. I know why we did it the second time, because the fountains that we couldn't hear on the first one.
Right.
We did like 4 interviews, and I was just getting more and more shit-faced.
You guys are gonna laugh, but I want to hear Trump read Shakespeare. I just think that would be badass.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
I think it'd be badass.
You know, when they checked me 30 years ago, and they checked me into prison, they had 3 dorms. The government's very creative with their names, A, B, and C. And they said I needed to report to B2. And the guy gave me some blankets and a pillow, and he sent me out the door. He says, go up the hill to B2. And I said, B2 or not B2? That is the question. And he didn't laugh. He had no sense of humor. I thought it was cute. Here I am getting checked into prison. I'm still making jokes, right?
And I'm going to apologize to all our viewers tonight. I look like shit. I feel like shit. I'm drinking Gatorade and not booze. But I was at the clinic today, and it turns out that the good part of being a healthcare provider is that you don't have to beg for testing on things that are going to infect people. So they tested me for everything. I'm not contagious. I'm just sick.
So here's the subtext of what really went on in Florida. This is the subtext of what was happening in that room. I have performed many hundred. I've been on my feet for 40 years running my mouth. I have never unified the entire room the way I did that night. When I get a laugh in a live show, there's always some people not laughing. When I get a standing ovation, there's always some people not standing. When I get people to cry, there's always some people not crying. Those people in Florida, those authoritarians, they all sat on their hands the whole night. I unified the whole room against me.
Well, I mean, they booed together.
It was quite an achievement.
They booed together.
And there was some booing. But what was really the subtext of what's going on in that room is that I called bullshit on their hypocrisy, and they didn't have any response to it. They didn't have any response. And the other thing that's going on is everybody in the room knows each other. Half the people in that room agree with me, and half of them don't. Half of them agree with me. I'm going to be doing, what's his name, Davey's show. Davey was the moderator down in Florida. He was heckling me from the floor while moderating. And I'm going to be doing his podcast, and he agrees that I was right. He agrees that I was right.
Okay,
but
so,
when he was in the room
don't
with
feel
his
bad.
friends,
You know, I was actively booing. Lincoln Chaffee in Iowa.
So, like,
Lincoln, I've sat next to Lincoln in 3 or 4 debates. That poor bastard just wants this to be over. That's all. He just wants it to be over.
One of the things he's
doing the honorable thing by finishing out. He just wants to go back to Wyoming and count his money. It's all he wants to do.
God.
One of the things I keep hearing is that it's not so much about where you stand on things. It's your delivery, right? It's your delivery that people have the problem with. They don't like the demeanor. They don't like personality. They don't like whatever. Well, and I'm going to, like, honestly, principle is principle, and I don't necessarily give a shit how it's delivered. Right now, I came up through brutalism. If there hadn't been people being really brutally honest with me and going, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" That stance is 100% anti-libertarian. All that shit that people bitch about, right? That the purists are pushing people out of the party. It's because of the purists that I'm still in this party. They're the ones that helped me grow. They're the ones that helped my principle grow. So not everybody's going to speak to everybody, and that's cool.
What about just we have a thing in comedy. I owned a comedy club for 4 or 5 years. We have a thing called being in the room, right? So we've got this situation going on in Florida, and I'm the only one saying anything about. Everybody else just sat. I'm not saying they should agree with me or disagree with me. I'm saying, do you have an opinion? Do you have a thought about this mayhem that's going on here? You're running for president. Maybe you should weigh in. Maybe you should speak up. Maybe you should have something profound to say. Maybe you should say Mark is an asshole. I disagree with him. Maybe you should. Do you have anything to say? They just sat there the whole night, and they disqualified themselves, as far as I'm concerned.
Chrissy, you and Jess should absolutely interview Mark's wife. Julie is amazing, and you will love her.
Julie's great. She was born in New Jersey, so if you break her middle finger, she can't talk.
Julie is amazing. Mark, Chrissy and Jess have a show also, and they're interviewing spouses of candidates.
Ah, there you go. That's so Julie, it's always been a hard thing for Julie when I am on stage, whether I'm on stage doing a show or on stage running for president. It's always very hard for her to see the negativity, the negative comments or negative responses. It's hard for her to see sausage being made. So I really appreciate Julie for sticking with me through this because, for me, it's just Tuesday. It's nothing. It doesn't faze me at all. And, but for her, it's a struggle.
She's an absolute delight. That's another thing that I've noticed. Other than Julie, I haven't seen, and Sam.
Oh, his camera shut off again.
Who is Adam Kokesh's girlfriend, fiance.
I haven't met her yet.
She's awesome, but I haven't seen any of the other spouses, other halves, kind of out on this tour. Like I wonder about that.
Were you saying that you haven't seen any other families or political spouses or
right? Like Adam Kokesh's girlfriend. I've seen Sam. She's out there.
Sam,
but,
very nice lady. Yeah,
she's amazing, right? But like the American public, when they vote, remember how much emphasis they put on Michelle Obama. Remember how much emphasis they put on.
Isn't Ken Armstrong going around the country with his wife?
Oh yeah, Ken's wife. I did meet Ken's wife.
He's actually been going around the country with my wife, which is different. Yeah.
No, I did meet Ken's wife, and she's very kind also. But those are the only three. I mean, look, the American people, whether we like it or not, they vote on the candidates many times as a package deal.
one of the things I want to do, and I hope I can get libertarians to lighten up and change the culture and have them see the sense of humor in all this. One of the main differences between me and Vermin Supreme is I just clean up a little better. But, Vermin's my brother from another mother. There's not a lot of light between what he thinks about the world and what I think about the world. So what I want to do is I want to take this Mount Rushmore face, and I want to take my family, who looks like they came from the first family factory, and I want to troll the entire country with this family, and I want them to just look at the picture and vote. That's it. They go, oh, my God, look at them. They came from the first family factory. I'm going to vote for them. These
I remember you pulling your wallet out.
They're so normal. Look at them, Whitneys. They're so normal, and we're just vote for them. We're not normal. We're hardcore libertarian.
And look, honestly, it's sad, but a lot of people vote that way.
That's why I'm saying there could be a no.
Oh my God, Justin! I didn't meet Sam's wife. I would like to meet Sam's wife. I did meet Ken's wife, but Arvin's hired escort. Ouch!
That Justin just redeemed himself for having missed our show for the last month.
I was impressed to see Arvin with an adult woman.
Oh, Christy, that's brutal. Oh, I met Adam Kokesh's parking lot.
Oh my God, you guys!
That's a good one.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Bus is
Since Justin's back, let's ask our requisite question. Mark, how do you feel about nuclear energy?
Well, let me check my pants. Yeah. So, you all right, Erin? You gonna be okay?
I muted her, so I'm gonna let her
cough. I think Erin needs some Gen 4 nuclear right now. Yeah. So, well, let me answer your question with a question. Do we libertarians care about the planet? Is that a thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been workshopping this with everybody I talked to. I did a whole breakout session on it in California. I think it is the hardest question to answer because I come from Vermont, and I know how people moved up to Vermont from Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York, and they used their concern for the environment beginning in the mid-'70s to regulate every aspect of commercial behavior in Vermont to the point where there's basically no commerce in Vermont. I had a friend who tried to build a 7-Eleven, get this, off the exit ramp of an interstate, and he spent $250,000 trying to get a permit from the state, and he never did get it. $250,000 over 3 years just to try to get a permit to build a gas station. That's Vermont. And so I understand why people are worried about that, who are private sector oriented. We're the party of the private sector. And but at the same time, out here in San Diego, where I go to the beach, they just recorded the highest temperature ever in the ocean. And in Vermont, where I grew up, if you want to have a ski area, you have to have snowmaking machines because you're going to be bankrupt otherwise. So there's some shit going on. I'm just saying, as an end user of the earth, and what should we how do we libertarians lead on this question?
I mean, I think that it depends on who you talk to, right? I think that this is one of those areas that we haven't workshopped as much as we probably should. I think most of us, like for me, I have an understanding of science that, what is that? That says that a lot of these climate cycles are just that, they're cycles. Certainly human beings have an impact, but the largest perpetrator of damage to the ecosystem is government.
Yes, fine. But then you have to go. So what I want to be able to do is someone running for president, right? Because unlike MotherJacober, the reason MotherJacober had such a hard time with my question in Iowa, how are you going to make Trump your bitch? The reason he had such a hard time with that, the reason there was a 7-second delay before he thought he could talk and then the words still wouldn't come out, the reason that happened is because he's never imagined himself on that stage. I imagine myself on the stage with Donald Trump, and I want to be able to take the hardest question that can be asked, which is climate change, and give an answer that 100% of the people watching agree with.
Well, I think,
and if you just end with government is the worst offender, that is a statement of fact. But it doesn't. If we agree that there are, how do we answer a question like that?
You look at all the things that government does, right? So government overregulation.
If you can take the hardest question and hit it out of the park, everybody respects that.
Well, the problem is government regulation limits people's accessibility to other fuel sources, right? They've created this false dependence on fossil fuels. They continue to bomb countries all over the world and to invade in this imperialistic reach. When all of those things stop, we see a benefit to the environment, a huge benefit.
I agree. I agree with that.
I mean, that's how you stop it. You stop government cronyism and bombing. And imperialism.
Yeah, that polls at about 75%. So ending the war on drugs polls at about 75%. Ending the war on terror polls about 75%. Ending the trade war polls at about 75%. There are a lot of things. Not spending money you don't have polls at about 75%. Any third warm body on a presidential debate stage polls at 85%. Mark Whitney, the warm body up there, polls at about 99.9%. Everybody wants to see that show. Everybody. I think it's the most important question in this campaign. Which one of these candidates has the best chance of making Donald Trump their bitch? That's it. Nothing else. That's the only question.
That's how you're going to do it if you get up there? Is climate change?
No. Well, if it comes up,
so I've been dying to ask you.
But the way you make Donald Trump your bitch is Donald Trump is open mic comic. So if he were to go down to the Comedy Store at 11 o'clock on Saturday night, get up and do 15 minutes, he wouldn't be able to buy a laugh with all his money. The reason he gets laughs, he's the guy who farts in church. That's who he is. He is in very austere environments, right? He's in these very serious environments. And when you're at church and you rip a big one, everybody laughs. That's Donald Trump. He is not a good comic. And that he gets laughs because he's in serious settings, and the more serious the setting, the easier it is to get a laugh. I'm an actual real comic, so I know how to use. I know how to mock. I know how to use satire. I know how to use parody. I know how to use all the power tools of the master storyteller to knock him back on his heels and make a monkey out of him. And I can do not a bad impression and say, "Okay, Donnie Det, your turn. Let's hear your plan." You know. And everyone knows he's never even read this, right? The contract he swears to preserve, protect, and uphold. But the Democrats, what we've seen the last 2 years with Democrats is they've been involved in the world's biggest public speaking contest, and they have the world divided up into so many little tiny identity groups that they can't talk. They can't speak because they're going to offend somebody. And so they end up getting these candidates who ought to be working in HR instead of being president. Right? Pete Buttigieg should be working in the back office in accounting somewhere.
Booty pig on this show.
Yeah, on this show, he's booty pig.
Booty pig. Booty pig?
Booty pig. Because Zach can't say Buttigieg.
That's all right. Isn't that kind of homophobic, though?
Probably.
Yeah, so that's always the fear.
It's not with hate.
It's not so it's.
Well, you're right. That's right. Because there are no bad words. There's only bad intentions. So
and it's a
booty pig. I got it.
It's a man bear pig thing, right? Remember the man bear pig thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I was a fan of Chasten. I like Chasten. You know, I wanted to see Chasten be the first lady. I was excited about that. But I guess that's not going to happen.
Hey, so Dre, you were about to ask a question. Go.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you were going to ask a question about him. I think you were going to ask him to explain how he would make Trump his bitch outside of that topic we were talking about. Is that where you were going?
Yeah, well, I thought I did, and I thought he answered that.
Oh.
Am I fucking that?
Yeah, so the difference, so I actually, I'm very similar to Trump in that I'm able to take, you know, the word Hornberger and turn his name into a punchline. So the word Jacob is now analogous to the word fuck, the way Lewinsky was analogous to blowjob. That's exactly what I did with MotherJacobers, right? It's very easy to do. Trump does that all the time. So one of the reasons I do it is to show people that I can do that. Is to show them that I can do what Trump does, and that I can actually at least match him, if not outdo him, and that I have better skills than he does on stage. And but the difference being that I actually am a man of principle, and he is a man of no principles. So Trump has shown you how powerful these stage skills are, and that you can go all the way to the White House with a complete lack of principles and morals or any sense of how to treat people. And what I'm saying is, I'm a better man than him. just as a person, and I subscribe to libertarian principles. So why is this not a no-brainer for libertarians? Why are we even having a discussion? Why are we not just doing the convention over a cell phone, nominating me now, and starting the national election? I don't get it.
No, look, I'm going to say that you're a better comic and a better man than Donald Trump is setting an incredibly low fucking bar.
That's a great point. That's a great point. But the flip side of that is the Democrats and the Republicans, with all their resources, all their money, all their access to warm bodies, they haven't been able to find a single person who can make Trump their bitch, and neither have the libertarians. I'm the only one that even has a chance.
I mean, so how do you guys, Dre, Zach, how do you guys think it goes down? Let's play this out. Let's say the debate is Joe Jorgensen versus Donald Trump. How does that play out?
That's Joe and Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's a slaughter.
I love Joe, but I think...
Next candidate.
Yeah, Joe's a great person, but...
Yeah. I met her in Nebraska. She's a lovely person.
She's badass.
Still gets slaughtered.
Joe and I had fish and chips for breakfast at Legal Seafood the other morning in Philly. We just ran into each other, and we went in there and had a nice breakfast and talked shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, how's that debate go? What about Lincoln Chafee Hornberger or Lincoln Chafee Trump? You guys picture that debate?
Oh God, they'd probably be agreeing on most shit.
Chafee couldn't make the Democrats his bitch in 2016. How's he going to make Trump his bitch?
I mean, I just don't. That debate, I'm concerned that we
have
to have.
Want a debate with 3 Democrats in it?
Like, right? Like, you'd have to have paramedics on standby because somebody's going to shit themselves. I mean, let's get honest.
Link would be like, oh, I can't remember what position I hold, and I can't answer a fucking question to save my goddamn life.
Look, I've met Lincoln. I've talked to Lincoln. I think Lincoln's a good dude. I think he really is here to stay. I do.
Eric, I don't think they allow non-consensual on Pornhub.
Chafee versus Trump would have to be broadcast on Pornhub.
And Eric Beasley just made it.
Yeah, right. They would. I mean, so think about that.
They should put the debate on Pornhub. A lot of people would watch. We get a lot of libertarians.
You know, putting the debate on Pornhub might be the best get out the vote idea I've heard yet.
Why are libertarians
get out the vote idea, though?
If you don't like it, leave.
Not live streaming on Pornhub. Why are we not doing that?
So we're trying to stream our podcast on Pornhub, but
yeah,
it's going to require some things that we don't have the money for yet.
Yeah, we know what those things are. Yeah.
So Mark, a lot of people, there are people saying, well, Mark's just not funny to me. I get that. There are a lot of comedians I don't think are funny that a lot of my friends think are funny.
Yeah, it's up to the individual to decide who isn't funny, right? So I may not be your comedian, but to a lot of people, I'm funny, and to a lot of people, I'm not. You know, I have friends who will not watch Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones special because he says fuck. I mean, to me, that is the best single 1 hour of stand-up comedy that's ever been produced. Better than anything Carlin or Pryor or anybody produced, or Chris Rock or anybody. Well, and I have friends that just won't watch it because he says that. He's not funny to me because of that. So
Walmart won't sell George Carlin or Adam Sandler or Richard Pryor because they violate their sense of morality.
Yeah, so they have that's their choice, right? So
I am going to have to disagree with you on something.
What?
And I don't remember the name of the special, but I think it was the second to last special that Rogan did was my all-time favorite.
Oh, dude, yeah. I'm a huge John Mulaney fan. So if John Mulaney's on, I think he is funnier than Tim or anybody on TV right now.
Yeah. And you know what? It is. It's happened like 4 or 5 times we've been out in public and we're talking to people, or some girl will come up to my husband John and be like, "You look just like John Mulaney."
Yeah,
he does look a lot like John Mulaney.
Yeah, John is really good. Do you think he could make Trump his bitch?
John Mulaney?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I think John Mulaney could make Trump cry.
Yeah.
Oh,
he told a great joke
on
late night. He told a great joke on late night about Trump 3 or 4 years ago to Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert, actually. He likened Trump to having a horse in a hospital. It's like, why is there a horse in the hospital? You know, what's the horse doing here? And there was the time during the James Comey thing, and he was after Trump, and then Trump. And then it was like, why is there a horse in a hospital? And then, oh, the horse catcher is here. But then oh, the horse fired the horse catcher, you know.
Right.
This is very clever. Yeah.
Yeah, Walmart has a sense of morality. Let that sink in, or what they call a sense of morality.
Well, that morality is another
Just
word.
is right.
Freedom,
there's an elephant in the White House, except it's orange.
Yeah.
Well,
morality
okay. I don't think there's an elephant in the White House. There is a donkey, though. Trump is not a Republican.
Yeah. I get excited. You know, one of the reasons I am excited to be running for president is because I'm excited that the Democrats and Republicans are nominating Statler and Waldorf from the Muppet Show, who heckle Fozzie Bear. I mean, and I feel like we libertarians don't appreciate our ballot access and appreciate the moment that we're running in. I mean, damn, you know, what a moment to have these people up there, you know, gumming their green jello and their cottage cheese, and they're hopped up on Flomax. And, you know, Joe Biden's eye exploded in an interview on CNN. His eye exploded. And then he lost control of his teeth in a debate. He was answering a question about immigration, and his teeth started moving around. He was trying to answer like this. And he's trying to keep his teeth in while he's talking about the border. And then he came out one day and said he's going to put 720 million women back to work. We only have 120 million women. Where's he going to get another 600 million women? He doesn't.
Oh my God!
Dude, so you guys,
this week,
yeah,
Trump,
he's gone. He's gone.
Trump
if
made
you
a
ask
tweet.
Joe Biden who the president is, he won't be able to tell you.
Trump made a tweet this week, right, encouraging everybody in Oklahoma to go out this past Tuesday and vote for Senator Jim Inhofe, who he supports. That election isn't until next week.
To be fair, he is having to deal with the coronavirus. I'm sure that's occupying a lot of his time.
Oh, yeah, he's dealing with shit.
Okay, I want somebody to make the libertarian case to me for Justin Amash. Why would the Libertarian Party want to do that? The guy has had no private sector experience. He's a career politician. He's a lawyer. He got elected as a Republican 5 times. He is as establishment as they get. He is against equal protection of the law for women. He's a committee candidate. He's got 0 executive experience. He just sits on fucking committees, jerks himself off. He's going to get a congressional pension if he doesn't win re-election. I mean, he's everything libertarians hate. Why would anyone even consider nominating him?
Here's my thing. Number one, I hear from all these people, well, Amash is the most libertarian guy up there. I'm going to call bullshit. Massey is the real deal. Amash is a wannabe libertarian.
If you have not seen it, take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and go watch that fucking documentary that Kibbe made about him. It is amazing.
Right. Massey is the real deal, number one. Number two, Amash could go back to Michigan and seek re-election, this time as a libertarian. If he is not convinced that he can go back to Michigan as a libertarian and re-win a seat that he has won before, what the fuck makes us think he can get any traction as our POTUS candidate?
He doesn't want the word libertarian next to his name on a ballot in Michigan. So why should he get to have libertarian next to his name in every other state?
The only way
in Michigan, the Libertarian Party is a little suspect. Just to be
not all of them.
I'm giving them shit
this weekend. Be nice to those Michigan libertarians, and we love all Michigan libertarians.
Look, man, I grew up in Michigan. There are amazing libertarians in Michigan. Tim Yao, shout out to you, Tim. Tim's fucking brilliant. If you're in Michigan, you want party information.
I'm going up there to give a speech this weekend. I'm going up to wherever it is.
Say hi to Patty for me.
Yeah, the only way Amash jumps over is if he runs the numbers on his race in Michigan and decides he can't win.
He can't win, exactly.
By the way, he can't.
He can't.
And okay, so here's the question. If he can't win, what does that say about him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And,
the problem is that we're not trying to win. We're trying to just lose by a little bit less this time.
Yeah, we're gonna run from that fight, and we're gonna go over here because these libertarians are a bunch of suckers. They've been suckered 3 times, and they're going to be easy to sucker again. You know what? I've got out on my desk out in the other room, I got a binder, and I have printed out in there all 227 pages of the Federal Election Commission rules and regulations, and it's written in small font, and I've read it from front to back. I did it before I ran. And it will not come as a surprise to you that the rules that the Democrats or Republicans have put in place for themselves for managing the money that comes in are very loose. Very loose. So here's what you do if you're Justin Amash and you paid attention to here's what you do, right? Let's say you got $3 million. You give the $3 million to your consultant friend. Your consultant friend keeps $1 million. He pays taxes at the third. He takes another $1 million. He pays taxes. And the last $1 million, he flushes out the back door right into your pocket. That's what these people are doing. Now, what I've said I will do is I'm going to be here for the next 10 years. I don't need the money. I got my money. I want to take a lot of that money and use it to recruit and train an army of libertarian candidates and activists. That's what I've promised to do. I've also promised to be at all 3 debates, even if that means just getting arrested. Amash is never going to go get arrested for the Libertarian Party. He can't even get arrested in Michigan.
Mark, Chrissy Wickers wants to know, what office have you won before running for president?
Very good question.
I have no public sector experience, and that's a feature, not a bug.
A feature, not a bug. That's good, but a lot of times,
well, Trump didn't have any either. Let's remember that he's president.
I'm running for president. President.
Typically on this show, like, we don't appreciate people who go straight for running for governor, running for big offices. But those are typically people who jump in from another party. You're a libertarian through and through. You know the principles. You're here to stay. So that's a whole other story.
And this whole bottom-up idea is you have to look at the office, okay? If you're running for governor or you're running for president, those are unique offices. The cameras and lights are on all the time. Your communication skills have to be off the chart. Your sense of humor has to be off the chart. People have to like the idea that you're going to be in the oxygen for the next 4 years. And a lot of people go, well, this guy Whitney's an asshole. But they're going to see that change over the next few weeks because I have the name recognition I need now. So I can show people that there is a serious, highly skilled executive here who understands that the Libertarian National Platform and the Bill of Rights go together very nicely. They go together very nicely. In fact, the Libertarian National Platform is extracted from the Bill of Rights. It explicitly embraces the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and the individual rights. You know, I was telling this story the other day to a couple of these radical guys I did a podcast with. You know, a lot of Kokesh's fans like to say you don't get your rights from a piece of paper. And I agree with them. I say I hate authority, which is why I love the Second Amendment. So what the Second Amendment compels me to do as president, Erin, is that if you're the only citizen in the country who wants to have a house full of guns and all 300 million of your fellow citizens are against you, the Second Amendment commands me. It is the word of the people commanding me to defend you, Erin.
Right.
And what I showed in Florida is that I'm the guy that will do that. I'm the guy who will stand up against the mob and do just that.
So Eric Beasley says, but if Amash enters the race, he gets to put him on the debate stage, and I'm going to call bullshit. Look, Amash has no allies in D.C. None. And we know that. If you think the old parties are not going to do whatever they can do to keep anybody running with an L next to their name off that debate stage, you're smoking fucking crack.
You know what? Amash has to come debate me. Okay. The thing people don't realize about me is I've been running only at about 25%. I've been holding back so that I don't come off as a bully or something. You know, the people I'm running against, with the exception of Hornberger, they don't have the years of experience I have on stage. There's so many things I want to say and do that I'm not doing because I don't want to humiliate people. But if Amash gets in, it's going to be scorched earth. It's going to be scorched earth. And I will bring all of my talents and all my skills to discrediting that guy. And he's going to have to come debate me, and I will make him my bitch very easily.
So it's a thing.
And you know what? Okay. And you know what? All the people have been saying Whitney is an asshole. They'll be cheering for me when I do that. They'll be cheering for me because I have zero tolerance for these fucking Republicans and Democrats. They are gangsters. They are mobsters. They're evil organizations, and they have no place. If you've been elected as a Republican and Democrat, you have no place running as a Libertarian, and we should reject them and push them away.
Agreed.
All right, so we're going to wrap up here. Give us your elevator, your 30-second elevator pitch and your website and all that.
I will make Trump my bitch, markwhitney.com.
All right. We don't have anyone on Thursday. Who's Tuesday?
Oh, are you going to make me look?
No, I got it. I had it pulled up. We have Kevin.
And I will make Amash my bitch.
We have Kevin.
I already made Hornberger my bitch.
Hang on.
You know, the thing is, I made Hornberger my bitch, and the guy hasn't done anything since. He hasn't done anything since. He's got nothing. He's an empty vessel. The only thing he's missing is a bow tie. I wish he'd show up in a bow tie someday.
Okay, who's Tuesday, Zach?
Kevin Hobby.
Yay! I love Kevin. Kevin wants to talk to y'all about this great event that's going on in Oklahoma.
Come on, Kevin, tell us about it.
Next week.
How great can it be if it's in Oklahoma? I'm just kidding.
Mark?
I'm just fucking with you, Erin. I'm just fucking with you.
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, you guys.